Ole'Pops here. Me and the MiniMe, see her back yonder? She's got Luca with us, and we're gonna take us a lunt today. Gonna see if we can find a trail here at this battlefield and get us a walk in. We don't exactly know the trail system here yet. They've changed it since we were here. Right now we're looking at concrete path. We're gonna see what we can find as far as off trail, and I'll get back with you. Y'all hang tight. Well, it looks like we found this little off concrete trail. We're off the asphalt anyway. This is the half-mile slaughter pen loop. This is where the Michigan militia came through when our southern boys were pinned down in a rock outcropping, and I'll show you the rock outcropping. It's right up here. I remember the story. It was General Rosecrans and General Bragg's boys fighting against each other, and the Confederates got caught in a bunch of boulders, and they were catching crossfires from both directions.
Come on.
Oh, here's a sign. Boys, you must get out of here. You're surrounded. General Sheridan's it's a Union regiment of Miller's Brigade. Then General Sheridan's troops showed up, but the two and General Nagley's, but the two commanding generals that were here first were Rosecrans and Braxton Bragg. But back here, I'll show you. They were trying to get supplies. Well, they've got, you can see where they've got little silhouettes, copper silhouettes. See if I can focus on one of them back there. Yeah, see him? A little copper silhouette of a soldier planted back there for the reenactments. They've got several back there. That's kind of neat. But this rock outcropping, they were trying to get it's pretty gnarly. They were trying to get horse-drawn cannons and supplies and artillery wagons and all kinds of stuff through here. There's another one sitting back there. See him poking his little head up? The Confederates were trying to get through here, and they got stuck. And when they got stuck, they got pinned down from both sides. And it was, after that, it was just Katie bar the door. Yeah, let's walk on back. This dog is not used to other humans other than us, so we're gonna walk on back. She was an abused dog. We got her as a puppy 4 years ago. She, I say abused, she was just mistreated, yeah, and just misloved, unloved, and was just not really given any human companionship. And we took her in and treated her like a chunk of gold. And I guess we have spoiled her rotten. And pretty much isolated her from the world for the past 4 years. It was easy enough to do. Look at her. She's a great dog. But anyway, do what?
I said we spoiled her to the point of 76 pounds.
Yeah, she weighs 76 pounds. We took her to the vet the other day to get her, I started to say her driver's license, to get her rabies shot. To get her rabies shot. Put her on the scales and she weighed 76 pounds. The dog's not as tall as your knee and she weighs 76 pounds. She eats better than we do. Well, she eats what we do. Anyway, I remember when we were hiking more often, we used to come out here on a daily basis and hike. You remember that?
Play on the rocks.
Play on the rocks. Yeah, you remember the day that I broke my ankle on those rocks?
That wasn't me, that was Justin.
Justin and Shay and Emily.
So since then, I played on the rocks by myself.
Well, yeah, and I freak out every time someone plays on the rocks.
But you let me every time.
My son dared me to race from one end of those rocks to the other. And it was, gosh, I guess I was 35, his age now. And like a fool, I took him up on it. And I got to the very last rock, twisted my ankle, flipped. And it wasn't a twist of my ankle that did it. It was the fact that I flipped, and when I came around, I whacked my ankle on the side of a tree. And when I hit my ankle on that tree, bap, snapped it. Just snapped that dude. Ended up with a pin in it, it in a cast. You remember the fish rock?
Yes.
There may be too many leaves to see it.
What's that little bridge? The little bridge that we got a picture of me on from the battlefield?
Oh, it's on the other end of the battlefield.
But it was from the battlefield.
Yeah.
Come on, dude. You're slowing down the train.
Time ran out this evening and left me in the dark. Nothing was alight except my star. There wasn't any movement, not a soul around. I'll admit at first it was bizarre. There were no nations trembling, no walls are crumbling down. There were no angels taking folks away. There was mostly silence with tiny breaths of sound, and everything I wanted was to stay close to grace. sun came up this morning and left without a word, and no one saw it stretch to greet the day. It could have been magnificent, it might have been absurd, but no one even knew it went away. There were no trumpets sounding, no banners or balloons, no fireworks resound their grand display. There was peaceful dreaming and quiet solitude, and two gentle arms begging me to stay. Close to grace. The sun shone bright this morning, much like it often does, and sailed along a sea of milky blue. I only halfway noticed, but it never made a fuss. It and I took turns looking at you. I can't always be with you, but I'll be here when I can to wipe the tears off of your tender face. And then I'll be a memory, it's all part of the plan. In my heart forever will I stay. Close to grace. Close to grace. Close to grace.
Here's the bone, so where's the fish?
Yeah, there's the old dinosaur bone rock that we used to have sites that we named ourselves. That bone right there was that was our dinosaur bone. But there was a fish rock, but it's probably, I mean, it's still there. It's probably just covered up with leaves.
Can you hold her long enough for me to take this video out?
Yeah.
Quit eating leaves. Hi. Ugh.
But anyway, this site right here, right in this area right here, back during the Civil War, was the site of an old place called the Blanton House. A family named Blanton, B-L-A-N-T-O-N.
Like the whiskey?
Yeah, the bourbon. Owned a place right here. Now there, back in the woods, back there is a, I guess there, I would say there, the closest house to us on that side is just less than 100 yards through the woods. And the Battlefield property stops less than 100 yards that direction. But it's pretty thick woods. If I'm not mistaken, the people that live in that direction are kin to the old Blanton family. But every now and then you can see V-shaped scars on the trees about 30, 40 feet high where muskets struck some of these old trees, and there are musket ball scars in the trees. But the Blantons used to give refuge to some of the Confederate soldiers that were injured. They were, if I'm not mistaken, well, there are stories in that direction, takes you back up to the visitor center, and up that direction's Highway 70. If you turn left when you get out to Highway 70, about a quarter of a mile down the road is a little place called Yesteryear. You can read about the Blanton family, and they've got all kinds of paraphernalia that you can buy. Down the road a little piece was a Civil War hospital, and there was another family or two that lived out this way that used to help out during those years with the Underground Railroad and with soldiers that were trying to desert from that were trying to desert from the Army. But the Union took over the Blanton, started to say plantation. It really wasn't a plantation. It was just a little two-story cabin. It was a pretty good sized cabin. I mean, it was like 4 rooms downstairs and 4 rooms upstairs. And they ended up hanging Mr. and Mrs. Blanton and their oldest son, and they ended up shooting one of the other sons, and they had 2 daughters. We won't discuss the daughters, but they didn't bode well with the rest of the Union
Are we going back the other way?
Army. Yeah, we're gonna go back the other direction. But used to be, we would come here and pick up pieces of porcelain and crock plates and glassware from back during that time period that actually used to belong to the Blanton family, and we could take these pieces over to, when we were Boy Scouts, we would take these pieces over to the Yesteryear store, and the guy that owned it at the time would buy these pieces from us. He'd give us, back during that time, now this is like 45, 50 years ago, he'd give us, 50 cents a piece for the chunks of plates. And I think one of us found a metal canteen out here once, and he was talking serious money back then. He was talking $10 for a metal canteen, but 50 years ago to a Boy Scout, that was serious money. But I remember camping out here and watching the reenactments when I was a Boy Scout. My dad was our scout leader. Anyway, we're gonna do this walk back. I'm gonna shut you off right here, and we'll check back with you when we get back. There's a spot up here that's got a couple of good size oak trees, and I like to collect me up some nuts if there's any that's fallen. I use them in craft projects. I'll come back to you then if we find a few. Well, Ole'Pops here. We made it back to the truck. We never did find any acorns, but I figured we'd make it an official lunt and have a pipe with you before we left. I'm smoking my Devil Ants from Moonshine Pipe Company, the egg shape, rusticated, that I was smoking last night at the graveyard. And in it I've got a little bit of Peter Stokeby's Special English number 17. We've stopped here at the truck right there to give Luca a little bit of water before we take her home. But I wanted to thank y'all for coming along. And on behalf of MiniMe and Miss Luca, I'm Ole'Pops.